Hello, welcome to the program. I'm David Cruz. It's wonderful to be here with you. Despite COVID-19 and we're still hunkered down, it's always great to make that community connection. And today's topic is very important. So please listen up if you're living here in Ventura County or even anywhere in the Central Coast. It's worthwhile information for each and all of us. It has to do with the times that we're in and how it impacts property owners or renters, people who are facing challenging times, either because you have a property where your renter cannot pay or because you're getting ready to sell your house or something of that nature, and there's fraudsters. In fact, I learned a term that I'm going to bring up in a moment with one of our guests, imposter landlords. What a term that is. So let me welcome our guests. I want to start off with Jorge De Leon. He is a prominent real estate broker here in Ventura County. I've known him for many years, and he's also someone who volunteers very actively in sharing the word about how to avoid frauds and scams in the real estate market. Jorge, welcome to the program.
Good morning, David, and thank you so much for inviting us to your program. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I've got a ton of questions for you. And we're honored today to welcome back someone who's been on our show before. His name is Anthony Wald. He is the Senior Deputy District Attorney for the County of Ventura. Anthony, I'm going to call you Tony for the show. Tony, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the opportunity to spread some very important warnings today.
Absolutely, and I'd like to tell people something about your background. It's very impressive. He got his BA from Arizona State University. He got his law degree from Southwestern University School of Law. He's been here after receiving his law license in '97. He joined the Ventura County DA's office in September of that year. And when you look at his background, he has covered the wide gamut of responsibilities. But right now, and this is why he's here with us today, he is assigned to the Real Estate Fraud Unit, and that's the area that we're going to cover for the next several minutes. So again, listen up, because this could avoid us going into a situation that ends up being a very costly booby trap. So let's begin with something here. You have an entity, Tony, in the County of Ventura that's been set up in the DA's office called REFAT, R-E-F-A-T. What does that stand for?
So REFAT is the Real Estate Fraud Advisory Team, and what it is a collaboration between the District Attorney's Office, meaning the prosecutors that are in the unit, such as myself, our police investigators, and we partner with members of the local real estate fraud community, such as Jorge. And the reason that we do that is they share graciously all of their expertise about the ins and outs of the real estate market and particularly real estate transactions. And they bring to us concerns that are happening in the community, how those concerns are impacting everyday citizens here in Ventura County and across Southern California. And we, in turn, act on those concerns. And when we encounter situations that we are unsure of what some of the terminology means, how things work in escrow, we can reach out to our REFAT partners, and they answer our questions and help us navigate this very complex real estate market.
So that's a very effective 1-2 punch that helps the consumers. And it reminded me, Jorge, you and I worked together during the 2009, what I call the real estate market crash. Jorge, what are you seeing today? When you hit me with the phrase recently of imposter landlords, I mean, that just sent a chill through me. What are we talking about?
Well, it's a situation where we have a very tight real estate market in California, in Ventura County even more so. We don't have enough housing for everybody. Therefore, rental prices have gone up. It's expensive to rent homes. So anytime that one of our homes goes for sale and it's a vacant home, some of these imposters, they take advantage of the fact that the home is vacant. They will post it on Craigslist, a site like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and they will advertise it at a very low price, something that where people will just jump on the opportunity of renting a property at a lower price and will communicate with this imposter. And the reason I call them imposters is because they're not the owner of the property. There's somebody that is just taking advantage of an opportunity and posting this, copying the pictures that they find on online, and make a very nice this property description. And when somebody falls for the hook or bites on the hook, they will tell this story about how they're on a mission, or maybe they're on a medical leave across, overseas, and they just want to find a fine set of people that can rent the property and take care of it in exchange for jumping on it quickly. And they say, you're going to go to the property, you're going to see that there's a for sale sign. Ignore them. I just canceled that listing. I don't want to work with them. You're just going to deal directly with me. But hurry up, wire some money over, Western Union the money, whatever way of sending money, and people will just get excited and spend the money without asking questions, and they are left without the money and without the property.
So to understand this is an individual who becomes pretty astute about the eagerness with which we're looking to rent a property out of necessity, and then they prey upon these consumers. It seems hard to believe that people fall for that, but Tony, in your line of work as a professional, as an attorney who is with this task force, can you give us an example of a case or cases that you've handled where people have done this kind of thing?
Absolutely. We constantly are inundated with people reporting to us that they're victims of online rental scams. And what happens is sometimes it's younger people, and for instance, Craigslist is probably our number one internet provider that is associated with fraudulent rental listings. So like a crook will hijack a listing like Jorge was talking about. It's got great pictures. It shows it's very professional. It's got the ins and outs of the property. They'll hijack that listing, and they'll copy all of those pictures and information onto a Craigslist ad advertising the property for rent. So with, especially younger people, everything is done online. So, when I was younger and I was a young adult, we used to go into, 7-Eleven, and you'd pick up, Apartment Finder, a printed publication, and look at, rental listings, or you would go and visit rental listings. With society now, everything's online. And so they'll see this property. It's always well below market, traditional rental market rates that you'd expect for that area. And they don't know better. And, when they talk about, can I see the property? And they're told, no, you can't, because there's people in it. Don't disturb them. Or I'm not in the country right now, or I'm not in the state. But, if you want to lock this in, you need to send me, $1,500 for your security deposit with an application. And I've looked at these applications, and they are the standard applications that you would expect from a legitimate listing. But every scam starts with someone hearing something that they really want to hear. So if you're a young person or an older person even, and you're, as we all know, property is at a premium in California. And if you have a finite amount of money that you can afford to spend every month on rent, and you see this beautiful property and it would typically be out of your price range, you hear what you want to hear. So the person says, I can't show it because I'm out of state. Well, that sounds legit, because that's what you want to hear. Send me the money right away, and it's yours. You fall for that because that's what you want to hear. And then as soon as the crook gets the money, they just break off all contact.
So Tony, let me interject a question here. Are you saying then, Tony, that when you see someone who, you don't meet the person, you only see what they're writing online, so you'll never meet the person,
correct,
and they're trying to get you quickly to send money? Should those be red flags, two of them that go off right away, the bells that go off in our minds, the alarms, if you will?
Absolutely. And the second if you're a prospective tenant, the second a alleged landlord tells you they can't show you the property physically in person, they can't open up a front door that's locked with a key and walk you into that property, you should run away screaming. That is a huge red flag. And what we recommend at the district attorney's office is, one, the best practice is to work with a licensed real estate agent or a property manager to find legitimate available properties. 2, if you're not going to do that, only hand over your money, meaning your security deposit, your first, your last, at the same time that they're handing you the keys. That way you know it's legitimate. And make sure the keys work. Put it in the front door and turn it. Because that's huge red flags. But sometimes people are out of state. We've had heartbreaking cases where active military are out of state and they're being transferred to, for instance, Port Hueneme. They don't have the luxury of physically appearing and inspecting these properties. And so, they send their money. They think they have a property lined up. They think that they've secured it. They load up all of their belongings. We had a case where the soldier drove out from, I think, Utah with his whole family, and then only to show up and find out that someone else was living in the property because it was never actually available for rent, and they're just out their money. It's heartbreaking.
I'll tell you, it is, and it's a heartless act to play or to commit against someone. So Tony Wald is our guest. He is a senior deputy district attorney here in Ventura County, and with us also we have a very renowned and known and established real estate broker, Jorge De Leon, and we've known each other a number of years. Look, I want to encourage you as a listener to this program to get ready to jot down where you can reach out to them and have a resource for you. I'll mention it right now, but later in the program also you can jot it down. It's REFAT, REFAT, and this is .org, refat.org. There's also a phone number. Let me give you that phone number. It's going to be, of course, area code 805-751-5899, 751-5899. I'll be giving that out several times. You mentioned how these people become very adept. They know how to pull off these scams. Tony, have you encountered what I would call serial offenders in this space, or are these people who are just fly-by-nights? They strike once and they're gone?
Unfortunately, financial predators typically tend to make their entire living from fraud. And unfortunately, there are serial offenders. My office prosecuted a gentleman named James Rojas earlier this year. And before we arrested and prosecuted him, he had been to prison literally 3 times for real estate fraud offenses. And every time, the second he gets out, he sets up shop and just starts plying his trade. And in that case, he targeted 5 elderly victims here in Ventura County and swindled them out of tens of thousands of dollars. He stole their properties outright. And these were people that were bamboozled and convinced by Mr. Rojas because these people are very adept at using complicated jargon, terminology, and they are the ultimate predator in terms of salespeople. They are very, very persuasive. And one thing that I have learned in this assignment working with real estate fraud victims is, unfortunately, when someone is in fear of losing the roof over their head, they are very, very receptive, especially to hear what they want to hear. And if you're drowning and someone throws you a life preserver, you just grab it. You're not going to inspect it. Oh, is it going to float? Is it going to save me or not? You grab the first life preserver that's thrown your way, and that is what these people, they prey on, like Mr. Rojas. And
absolutely.
You said one thing that really hit the nail on the head. You said that it takes people that basically something to the effect that they don't have a heart. These people are sociopaths. Make no mistake about it. They will take your last dollar and leave you destitute and economically crushed and never look back. And the people need to understand there are people that are just heartless, and they're not wired like you and me and Jorge. So people need to keep their guard up and maintain constant diligence about real estate fraud.
Real estate advice coming from Senior Deputy District Attorney here in the County of Ventura, Tony Wald, an expert in prosecuting these crooks, and they really are just that. They're crooks. Jorge, you and I have worked over many years in spotting these scams as they're coming, and right now I think we're looking at one just over the horizon. It's that loan forbearance. when this COVID-19 thing started, the pandemic, it felt good for many people who were able to get a reprieve from some of their payments because maybe or their hours had been curtailed. But what's about to hit, and how could that be turned into a scam opportunity by fraudsters so that we're ready to know what to look for if they come our way?
So yes, as you recall, we had the mortgage meltdown about 10, 12 years ago, and many people, actually a little bit more than that, many people started, defaulting on their mortgage payments. And that caused a new wave of loan modifications, and that obviously attracted those that wanted to take advantage of the situation by offering illegitimate loan modification systems and charging ahead of time. So what we're seeing now is that with the loan forbearance, which is a program that lenders have where if you fall in hard times, you can request a loan forbearance. And the loan forbearance is what it is just a simple postponement of any payments and with the intent of helping you get back on your feet. And once you get on your feet, you are just supposed to bring your loan current and pay whatever unpaid balance. So, for example, small local lenders, like if you had a car payment, on a car payment, they would allow you to put it at the tail end of your loan, right? Which is a 5-year loan, maybe a 6-year loan. With mortgage, though, the forbearance is just a postponement of your monthly payments, and the expectation is that you pay that as quickly as possible after your hardship is over. If you can't do that, then it starts a foreclosure process. Now, keep in mind, there's government loans that have actually made some modifications to that, and they're adding it towards the tail end. But then you have private loans that are actually part of the investment world that are mortgage-backed securities. Those may not have that forbearance option. So what's happening is that if someone cannot afford to pay, let's say $7,000 or $8,000 in back payments, then they start going into a foreclosure process. So unfortunately, we are alerting people that there may be people that will come to you saying, hey, I noticed that your mortgage has gone into pre-foreclosure. Let me help you modify your loan with the intent of supposedly, quote unquote, let us help you erase or negotiate those back payments. The problem that we're having is that any loan modification program by law, you're not supposed to charge ahead or prepay for those services, and that's where our concern is that scammers will come out and ask you for $10,000 to help you save your home, and they capitalize on the emotional part of people not wanting to lose their home, and they're going to pay a couple $1,000s just to be able to have someone help them, quote unquote, help them to modify that forbearance.
Jorge, I recall, now you said 2000, I recall people who paid $15,000 to $30,000. You may remember those cases too, back in the 2008, 2009 meltdown. Like you say, people get desperate. They borrow money from family members, from friends, because they want to save their home. And these individuals who are committing the fraud, they've seen the public record that someone may be behind on their payments, and so that's their calling card. Isn't that the way they operate, Jorge?
Yes. There were times that people, scammers would, be put up a little card table in front of a retail store advertising loan modification, and people, some people that were not sophisticated or felt that they were resources, had the resources, or maybe they were embarrassed about their situation, would say, hey, you know what? This is a nice man who's trying to help me. My parents, they didn't have to, they were not faced with that, but my parents oftentimes respond to mail that comes to the home thinking that it's a legitimate thing because it looks official. So people, it's easy for people to fall because when you're in distress, you're looking for an opportunity to fix it. And if a letter that comes in the mail or somebody that comes to their door seems very nice, they're dressed nicely, they seem to care, and say, oh, you're going to be able to help me for this amount of money. And it happens so many times. And people lost money. And as a matter of fact, some people are still coming out that have these fake loan modifications from 10, 12 years ago, and they're about ready to lose their home.
We're talking with Jorge De Leon. He is a member of this REFAT organization that is working in conjunction with the County of Ventura DA's office. Also with us, an attorney who is Tony Wald. He is a very well-known also a lawyer here in the area who is the senior individual in charge of this task force, because God knows that this is an area that's prime for these kinds of cases. Not that he's asking, but I want to give you Jorge's number because he's someone I trust and someone that I can, with all honesty, know that he's going to talk to you in English or Spanish. His number is 805-794-7102, 805-794-7102. He is with Caldwell Banker here in the community, and I appreciate that he takes time today as a volunteer with REFAT. I want to come to that point of the question, Tony. We don't know whether these forbearance loans are going to then require for people to pay all or pay payments, but let's say someone believed that a scamster was legit, and he signs over his or her house to them. Certainly after this thing is over, you can go back and get them their house, can't you?
If only that were true. So unfortunately what happens is, and I know you know the answer to that, I appreciate that softball. Unfortunately, we see this all the time, and I'm still getting cases where people paid money and signed over deeds and lost their homes as a result of the 2009 crisis. And what happens is the crook will immediately take out a loan and try to extract any remaining equity if there is any equity. They will try to sell the property, and once I've heard Mr. Totten, the elected district attorney, say this time and time again when he gives keynote opening remarks at the annual fraud symposium, which is also a REFAT event, and it's that once the money is gone, it's typically gone. And once your home is lost because it's been lost to a crook, we can't turn back time. We can't get back that home. And it's all we can do on behalf of a victim is seek a measure of justice, get someone committed to county jail. If for instance, in the case of Mr. Rojas, who was sentenced to 13 years in prison, get a measure of justice that way because they're being held to answer for their crimes. They can't reoffend while they're in custody at least. And so, if your listeners take away only one or two things from our program today, it's never, ever, ever pay anyone for mortgage assistance. It's not legitimate if you have to pay for it. There are so many nonprofits that will help you, such as REFAT, and will direct you to resources. 2, never, ever, ever make your payments for your mortgage to anyone other than your actual lender. Because time and time again, I see crooks that have convinced victims, well, if you make your mortgage payment directly to me, you only got to pay half. I'll pass that on to the lender as a good faith payment so they know you can make this lower modified payment. Here's the bad news, folks. Crooks never pass on that money. And the bank and the lender has no idea that the crook is acting as an intermediary and basically intercepting that mortgage payment. And you just slip more and more underwater, and you eventually lose your home. And we
have a little time, maybe about a minute and a half left. And one thing that I want to add to what I'm hearing from both Tony and Jorge is, ladies and gentlemen, the lovely listeners of 98.3 The Word, when we're in this kind of a situation, our emotions are keyed into what we want to hear. You've heard that again and again. So that clouds our thinking. It's so important to deal only with legitimate sources, people you can check out. If you don't know whether someone's license is in effect, check with the California bar, or the California bar if it's an attorney, or the real estate entity that licenses attorneys. And here's what I want you to do. Just jot this number down. You can call them for all the good details, 805-751-5899, 751-5899, or go to refat.org. Guys, a final thought, 30 seconds each. Jorge, I begin with you. I know some uncertain times are ahead. Good piece of advice to take away?
Yes. First, if there is a question, if you are looking to rent a property, any real estate company in the area that has a legitimate real estate, you can verify the license on the Department of Real Estate, on the DRE or on the Department of Real Estate with California. That person can help you determine if someone is a legitimate owner, or you can call a title company. Customer service will give you that information to make sure that you are dealing with the proper owner.
Tony, do you have a final thought?
My final thought would be, remember this: legitimate help does not come to you. Firemen don't drive down your street, get out of their fire engine and come and knock on your door and ask if you happen to have a fire they could put out. And the mortgage assistance is the exact same way. You must seek out legitimate assistance. If someone comes to you either with a knock on the door, a phone call, a piece of correspondence you receive in the mail,
guys, we're out of time. I'm sorry to have to tell you that, but look, that obligates you to come back and keep us informed. Jorge De Leon with the REFAT Group. Coldwell Banker is his company, and of course you can reach out to him at 805-794-7102. And Tony Wall from the great office of Greg Totten, our district attorney. He's with the REFAT organization, refat.org. I'm David Cruz. We'll speak again soon.